Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Today we'll have Sarah's May Disney World trip. That's coming up on this episode 465 of WDW Prep To Go. Welcome to WDW Prep To Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney World trips. And we have lots and lots of trip reports. I am your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 465. Today is another trip report. This time is with Sarah V, who just got back at the end of May with her family from Disney World. They stayed at a new Fort Wilderness cabin for most of the trip, but also did some resort hopping as well. I will have that for you in just a second. As always, a reminder to follow on social media. And if you want to be a trip report guest like Sarah, the only way to do that is using the SpeakPipe information in the show notes of every episode. Leave a voicemail with some details about your trip. And then if it works with our schedule, somebody on my team will reach out to get your pre-trip and post-trip booked. And that is how it works. Usually they are scheduled 2 to 3 months out, but you can submit your SpeakPipes anytime. I think that is it. Let's jump into my chats with Sarah about her Disney World trip. Welcome to the podcast, Sarah.
Thank you.
We're talking on Saturday, May 17th, and you told me you're headed to Disney World.
Yes.
When are you going?
We are leaving Tuesday, so in 3 days on May 20th.
May 20th. Through what?
The 27th.
Does this happen to coincide with the school break?
Yeah, so my kids' last day of school is next Wednesday. What would that be, the 23rd, 22nd? So we're going to pull them out a couple days early. My original thought had been we would miss some school crowds, and I thought the weather would be more mild. That's not going to happen. In the mid-90s.
Yeah, a little even hotter than normal right now.
Yeah.
Have you traveled this time of year before?
Yeah, so May is probably my favorite time to travel, but we've never traveled this late in May. We've always pulled our kids out the first or second week of May, but I have a middle schooler now, and that's just getting harder to do. So this is the latest we've ever done it. Flower and Garden's my favorite festival. We've always avoided the summer, but here we go.
You're right on the shoulder.
Yes.
Shoulder season. Yeah. Okay, so who is going on this trip?
Okay, so our family is my husband. His name is Richie. My 3 girls, Caroline, Nora, and Maggie.
What are their ages?
12, 9, and 8.
12, 9, and 8. And it is not your first trip?
No.
It is not. Okay.
It is not, no.
Do you guys have a routine schedule for travels, or how does that normally work for you?
No, every trip I say, okay, we're not coming back for a while. And then usually within a few weeks, we have another trip booked. We actually took our first big family trip in 2019, December of 2019. My husband and I both worked side jobs for an entire year to pay for that trip. And so we thought it would be our one big thing that we would do. And then that didn't happen.
Famous last words.
Yeah. I actually grew up in Florida on the East Coast, and I went to nursing school in Orlando and graduate school in Orlando. So I was actually a Make-A-Wish kid. I had leukemia and was treated at Arnold Palmer in Orlando. And so my family, when I was a little girl, grew up going just because we had free tickets. We would have never afforded to go otherwise. And so part of this trip is actually, we went really cheap when I was little. My mom would pack peanut butter sandwiches. We'd eat carrot sticks and raisins. But the very last tickets they didn't have Give Kids the World when I was diagnosed, because I was in 89 was when I started treatment. So I don't know when that got built, but we just were given tickets for many years. And so our very last trip that we had as a family, we actually stayed on property at the cabins. And so I've always wanted to take my kids back there, and that's what we're doing.
In the cabins? Okay.
Yeah.
So then I guess that answers one of my next questions, which is where you're going to stay. So the new cabins with DVC points.
We booked through Disney, but it is a DVC cabin for this trip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Staying at a new Fort Wilderness cabin. So last time you were there, old cabin. This time it'll be the new layout.
Right. So, I mean, it's been decades.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And you are in Georgia, right?
Yeah, I live in, yes, West Georgia right now.
So driving or flying?
Okay. So when we originally booked this trip, I said to my husband, okay, we're going to do this really cheap. We're only going to go for a few nights. We're going to drive. We're going to eat all of our food since we'll be at the cabin. And then that has slowly changed. So now we're staying 5 nights at the cabins. We added a night at a different hotel at the top of the trip and the end of the trip. And we suddenly decided to fly probably a month ago after we spent a day in the car with our children. And we said, never mind. We changed our mind. We're going to fly.
If you were driving, how long of a drive would it be?
Okay. So typically when we've driven, we will put our kids in the car at 5 in the morning and get there somewhere between 12 and 1. So it's usually 7-ish to 8 hours, depending on potty breaks. So it's not terrible, but we have kids with like significant motion sickness, and we just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And that, I feel like 7 or 8 hours is right on that border of do I drive, do I fly? Where are you flying from?
Atlanta.
Okay.
So we're about an hour to Atlanta.
Very short flight.
Yes.
Okay. So Tuesday, May 20th, you're flying from Atlanta to Orlando. When do you arrive?
Okay. I plan all the Disney part of our trips. My husband takes care of flights, so I honestly don't know. I mean, I know we're getting up early, but I will probably find out Monday night what time I'm expected to be in the car and at the airport. I think we have a 7-something in the morning flight, so we should be landing somewhere before 9 o'clock in Orlando.
You're arriving in the morning.
Yep.
And then from there to your first like hotel or whatever.
Yeah.
How are you getting there?
So we'll Uber or Lyft depending on what's cheapest at the time.
Okay. And then where do you head first?
Okay. So we are going to stay at the Boardwalk first.
Okay. And you rented points for that?
So we rented points.
Okay. Rented points. And then going back to what you said earlier, which is you're at the cabin for most of it, but then you have these hotels at the beginning then.
Yeah.
Is it because you expanded your trip?
Yeah, I just decided I wanted to stay longer.
Okay. So you added on.
Yeah.
You had to pad it out to fill the week.
Yes. And I don't even know that I thought about adding days at the cabins. I do really enjoy, we typically do split stays. It's not my husband's favorite, but he does whatever I want. So I like to change it up, and I like to kind of base where we're going, which parks we're doing based on where we're staying. So we're going to do Epcot first. So it just made sense to stay at the Boardwalk.
Okay. So you're going to get to the Boardwalk. Other plans on this day?
Okay. So we have never done any of the water parks, but we're going to take advantage of that first water park day, and we're going to go to Typhoon Lagoon. I think the next day is when Blizzard Beach opens up. But so technically we could go again the next day and then again later, but I don't think we're going to do that. But my kids have watched videos of both and decided they wanted to do Typhoon.
Okay. So you're headed there after, I guess you drop your bags at Boardwalk?
Yeah. So our plan is to drop the bags. I think I'm correct that we have to get on a bus to Disney Springs, right? And then we have to, from there, transfer to Typhoon Lagoon. Okay. My husband is not planning to come with us. He said the last thing he wants to do is be in a swimsuit all day at a water park. So he's going to enjoy himself with a beer at Disney Springs while me and the girls go to Typhoon Lagoon.
Okay. So you'll probably spend a few hours there, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't want to push it too much that first day. And then I think we'll be tired. So we'll just ride a few things, see what they want to do. And then I guess, do we have to take a bus back to Disney Springs and then transfer to Boardwalk?
I don't love it.
Yeah. So my plan is to try to pack one suitcase for that first kind of like 24 hours of our
Mhm.
trip and have everything we need so
Mhm.
that we don't even have to open the rest of our luggage until we get to the cabins.
Okay. So your Tuesday supplies will all be on it in its own bag.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see how good I do.
Do you think you'll do anything after Typhoon Lagoon?
Right now we have a dinner reservation at Beach Club for I think it's like at 7:20. Now that we're staying at Boardwalk, I might cancel and go to Cake Bake depending on if I don't have a reservation there. I might just walk up if there's anything available. Polite Pig is our favorite at Disney Springs. So if it works that we get back to Disney Springs in time to eat, we cannot start a Disney vacation until we have had a frozen old fashioned at the window at Wine Bar George. So I will either get that first when we get there before I take my kids to Typhoon Lagoon, or I'll get that as soon as we get back.
Okay. A frozen old fashioned at Wine Bar George. Interesting. Okay.
It is our very favorite thing.
Okay. Is that it for Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. Wednesday, May 21st.
Okay. So Wednesday, I really went back and forth with this day because Wednesday night is extended evening hours. But I really wanted to take advantage of being in an Epcot hotel and rope dropping Remy's because I don't want to buy lightning lanes at Epcot. And we're going to do 2 days at Epcot on this trip and 1 at all the other parks. So I went back and forth, but I ultimately decided we would go to Epcot on this day. So my plan is to get up and rope drop Remy's, head to Frozen. And then the only thing I did buy was lightning, single pass for Guardians.
Okay. So no multi-pass here.
No. I thought I had made a good decision. And then I've been looking at the times, and I think a week ago, it all of a sudden popped up on the hours that the park closes at 5:30. And I did not realize that until really just the last few days.
On this day?
Yes. I don't know what it is. It says it's special ticketed event. And I swear I had looked at those hours and it was open until the later evening until recently. So I don't know if it's a Moonlight Magic or I have no idea.
Okay. I just paused our recording so we could figure out what was going on. It's a private company that bought Epcot out that evening.
Yeah.
And it was only 2 months ago that it seems like it popped up. So when you booked it, you wouldn't have had any idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I have kids in that middle stage of life or of childhood where they can stay up. We've done the parties before and they're fine. But then it just messed with my next day to want a rope drop. And especially since it's the beginning of the trip, I was like, no, we'll just try to kind of stay on our normal. And my kids go to bed early during the school year. So I don't want to push it.
So you know that it's a 5:30 closure. I wonder if it'll make the park less crowded that day, though.
Yeah. And yes. And that was another one of my thoughts when I was deciding was, okay, maybe Magic Kingdom will just be busy that day because people will choose that one to stay at. Maybe it'll make Epcot easier. So, but we'll
Okay.
see.
So far you've said no multi-pass lightning lanes, you're rope dropping Remy's, going to Frozen Ever After. You do have a single pass lightning lane for Guardians. So you're planning to do all the other rides, I assume, like standby.
Yeah, I think this day I really only care about Remy's, Frozen, Guardians, and then we have our list. My husband and I have all the different. We typically drink our calories on our Disney trips and then have a protein bar in our bag, and that's kind of what we do. So we have our list of what we want the ciders and the beer that we want to try at the festival.
Okay, so flower and garden booths for like food and drink.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any dining reservations on this day?
Nope.
Okay. Any other plans on this day?
No. So whenever we're done at Epcot, we'll go back to check into the cabins. I actually haven't thought through. Well, I guess we'll just get to the front of Epcot and take a bus over.
Okay. So before you head to Epcot that morning, you will have your bags transferred by Disney.
Yes.
Okay. Disney transferring bags. And then bus to Fort Wilderness cabin. All right. And okay, so then once you get to the cabin, is there anything? Do you have groceries coming by chance?
Yeah, so I will have a Kroger order coming, and we did rent a golf cart. So I feel a little out of my element with the cabins because I'm so unfamiliar with that whole space. So I don't know where we're going, how we're doing those things. I figure I'm just going to show up and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, you will figure it out. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. And I can see the flow of the bus taking you from Epcot to Fort Wilderness. You can pick the cart up right there, your groceries up there, and then just speed away to your cabin.
Yeah.
Convenient.
Yes.
Okay. Are you ready for Thursday?
Sure.
Where are you going?
Okay. Thursday, Magic Kingdom. Let me pull up my notes for Thursday. Okay. So I did purchase multi-pass for Magic Kingdom, and I purchased Tron and Seven Dwarfs. Wow. My oldest is actually not a huge thrill seeker. And so for Tron, only my little girls and my husband are going to go on that. And my daughter and I will go do something else. So my plans got a little bit messed up with Magic Kingdom because I'm not going to bring a stroller. This is the first time we're not going to. I might break down just because of the heat and rent one depending on how the day's going. But I mean, my kids don't need one, but I really thought I could on this trip show up and just start maybe in Tomorrowland and just make my way around and avoid a lot of the crisscrossing. But that's not how my lightning lanes worked out.
And that's why lightning lanes increase your steps, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Our plan is to rope drop Peter Pan since we got all the big things that we wanted already. So Peter Pan will rope drop. I really don't know what we'll do for 30 minutes, but because we have a haunted mansion at 9:25. So we might do something silly like Small World's right there, go carousel, something that's just to knock it off of our list. And then Haunted Mansion 9:25. We have Pooh at 11:45. Seven Dwarfs is at 1:25. And then Tiana's I couldn't get until 3. I would like to try whenever I get there to modify it to earlier or to push it back till later so we could take a break in the afternoon. So we'll see how that goes. This is really my first time, I think, using this system because even though we've been a lot, the last several trips that we have done have been for like parties, and we've really done minimal park time and just gone in for the parties. So this is the first like full park family trip that we've done in a long time. We have Tron at 8:15 that night. And so our plan is to come back, hopefully go back to Fort Wilderness, take a break, and then come back in the evening for Tron and fireworks.
For Tron and fireworks. All right. Okay.
Oh,
Right.
okay. So must-dos for us at Magic Kingdom. My husband is determined to ride the railroad. We have never done that.
It was closed, right?
Yes, it was closed for such a long time. And I don't really remember riding it in childhood either. I don't even know how to get to it. So we'll figure that out. Maybe we'll rope drop the railroad. I don't know.
Don't do that.
Okay. And we've also never done the Tiki Room, so we're going to do that as well. And then we really care about eating spring rolls and getting the citrus swirl. But other than that, we don't have reservations this day. Maybe I'll get like a Steakhouse 71 if we decide not to go back to the hotel or head to the Poly or something for lunch if we don't want to make the trek back to the cabin.
Okay. Friday, May 23rd.
Okay, that's our Hollywood Studios day.
All right. And are you you would have to take a bus there from Fort Wilderness, right?
Yes. I'm assuming, do we get on a golf cart and do we park it for the day? Okay.
There's a parking lot right next to the bus stop
Okay.
for golf carts.
Okay.
And you'll see it.
On our Magic Kingdom day, there's a boat that'll take us right to some. Does it take you back to where your golf cart is?
Yes.
Okay.
The boat is on one end, and they also have golf cart parking, and the bus is on the other end, but it also has golf cart parking.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, and when you arrive by bus from Epcot the first time, you will see the golf cart parking right there by that bus stop.
Okay.
So you'll know exactly where to go. It's like a mulchy, shady area.
Okay, so at Hollywood Studios, our biggest priority is watching Muppets for the final time. So I originally, when I booked, had gotten a Tower of Terror, but it was, I think, at 10 something in the morning.
Okay.
And so I actually let that go and I switched to Muppets at 9:05 just so that I had that early. I'm going to try the whole burner lightning lane.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it will be a little bit busier than normal since it's only a week from going away at that point or so. But anyways, we'll rope drop, rock and roller coaster, and then go right from there to Tower of Terror. Myself and my oldest will not ride either one of those. So we might just get coffee.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so maybe we'll do Mickey and Minnie's or something easy, just the two of us. But I hate drop rides. Will not do it. So
How do you feel about Tiana's?
I love Tiana's. I still like close my eyes and scream, but I love that. I cannot do. I can't.
Repeated drops, yeah.
Yeah. My husband tricked me and told me it wasn't that bad because I had never gone on tower as a child a couple years ago. And so I went and I just burst into tears.
Well, now you're
At
going to have
the-
trust issues if he lied to you about that.
Okay. So first lightning lane is Muppets. And then I think I'll try for Smuggler's Run once I'm able to start doing more lightning lanes. And we have Toy Story Mania booked for $11.50. And then I do have the single pass for Rise at $12.50. I'm not going. My husband's going to take my kids again. That stupid little drop. I know it's not that bad. I don't mind Rise, but I also didn't want to pay $20 when I don't care. So I was saving us a little bit of money, and I'll spend it on a cocktail or something instead. Okay, Slinky Dog is at $2.25. I do have a sci-fi booked at 1 p.m. I do not care about the food at sci-fi, but I figured since it is going to be so hot, that'll be a great opportunity to get inside and cool off. And my kids think it's really fun. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I bet your kids will like it.
yeah, we've only been once before, but they remember. It was one of those things that stuck out to them. So we'll do that.
All right. And then, so you said the last lightning thing I think you mentioned was like in the afternoon. So do you think you'll stay all day or are you taking a break?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to just hold the plans really loosely that day. I know my husband wants to come back and watch Fantasmic. I could take it or leave it. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Have you guys seen Fantasmic? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was also closed for quite a while. So I know a lot of people haven't had a chance.
Yeah. I think we did watch it on our first trip in 2019.
All right. Saturday, May 24th.
Okay. Saturday's our rest day. So my sister and brother-in-law live in the Orlando area. He actually works for Disney Cruise Line. And so we're going to meet them. We're going to sleep in, and then we're going to meet them at Disney Springs to take the kids to see Lilo and Stitch. I think it comes out either the day before that day. So we'll do that in the morning. And if we didn't eat at Polite Pig on our check-in day, we'll eat at Polite Pig on Saturday. And then the whole day, the rest of the day is just enjoying the resort. I was a little disappointed when I was planning this that like my kids really were excited about riding horses, but my 8-year-old doesn't qualify to do anything. She's over 48 inches and she can't do like the bigger trail ride because she's too young. She's not 9. And then the pony ride, she's too tall for.
There's a gap.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's okay. Nobody's going to do it since she couldn't. We were just like, okay, we'll just go visit the horses. It'll be fine. So we'll go to the barn and meet the horses. We're going to do the gem mining. I think I have to buy the gems or something like that. We'll swim. And then we are doing Hoop-Dee-Doo that night at 6:15.
Nice. Have you ever done Hoop-Dee-Doo?
No.
Okay.
I'm very excited.
Which tier did you book?
2.
Tier 2. Okay. That'll be fun. Yeah, I'm glad that you have a whole day where you can really enjoy Fort Wilderness because there's so much.
Yes.
All right. Anything else before Sunday?
No, that night we might do the Chip and Dales. One of the nights I'll definitely make sure we do it since we have some flexibility in our schedule. I don't know when that'll happen, but I definitely want to do it. The s'mores and campfire.
Okay. Sunday, May 25th.
Okay, Sunday is our Animal Kingdom day. Animal Kingdom is probably my favorite park for the vibes. We have struggled there. We've only been twice as a family, but it just didn't go well either time. I mean, we loved it, but just trying to do what we wanted to do was hard both times. So even though I know it's not really recommended to buy lightning lanes, I just bought all the things. So we are going to rope drop Everest. And then I have a lightning lane booked for Safari at 8:05. I got Cali River Rapids at 9:05, which kind of is a bummer to have to do that one first thing in the morning. But the last time we were at Animal Kingdom Lodge, my kids made me wait in line for an hour for that stupid ride. And I just can't do it again, but I know they're going to want to do it. So Cali's at 9. We've never ridden Navi River Journey, so we're doing that at 10:05. And then our flight of passage is 11. So this one played out pretty well. Like when I went to book it, I think it flows a lot better than my other days.
Yeah, and you said, you're not supposed to get lightning lanes. Listen, if I was going, I would get lightning lanes for all the parks. But if people do want to save money, I can see why this one would be a pick. But you had an easy time, and hopefully your experience will be better this time than your previous.
It'll be fine. Yeah. So our food priorities here are cheeseburger pods. My kids love those, and the Night Blossom. And we do want to do the shows. We've never done, is it Dory or Nemo?
Finding Nemo.
Okay. We've never done that show, but we have done the Lion King show and love that. And we've never done Rafiki's Planet Watch. They've never ridden Dinosaur. So we'll try to get those things in as we can.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully putting all the money into it.
It works. That's the thing about dropping all the money. It works.
Yeah, it's just painful to be a family of 5.
Yes.
And it's a lot easier once I'm, in the past when the money was coming there, it was like, whatever, I don't care. I'm at Disney World. But to pay all that money on a work day.
I can see that. I guess the only perk is, before your trip, how much you're in for.
Yes. Yeah. And we were originally going to do park hoppers, which we've never done before, but we decided not to in place of just putting the money towards the lightning lanes. So,
yeah. And if you don't need them, no need to pay for them.
Yeah.
Anything else on this day?
No, I would love to go to Nomad Lounge, but I have sweet memories of being at Nomad with just my husband, and I'm afraid my children would ruin that. So we may or may not try to do that depending on how sweet they are being that day.
Okay.
That night, I would like to go to the Poly Tower and visit. We were there in December. We own at the Poly as DVC members. So we were there like right before it opened up. But I'd like to go just see that area, maybe eat at the bar and grill there. So that would be our tentative plan for Sunday night.
Okay, got it. Monday, May 26th is your last full day.
Yeah, so we will check out of the cabins on Monday. I'm assuming they also will take our bags to Animal Kingdom Lodge. So we are going to be checking into a 1-bedroom villa at Jumbo House for the night.
Have you ever stayed in a 1-bedroom villa?
Yes, not at Animal Kingdom. We've stayed in a 2-bedroom in Kidani Village and never again because the walk to that room felt like 2 miles. So
I think it works better if you have a car.
Yes. And this is my daughter's choice. My daughter will turn 10 that weekend of our trip. And so she asked to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Okay. So are you going anywhere else? Or are you literally leaving your cabin and going to Animal Kingdom Lodge, or are you doing other things?
We'll drop our bags and go to Epcot.
Okay. So you are going to Epcot. Bags transferred. Okay. And then what are your priorities at Epcot this day?
Okay. If I haven't ridden Soarin' yet, that's a priority. That's my very favorite ride. And we'll just hit up any festival booths that we didn't get to. I have a whole list, and I always have all these things that I think I'm going to eat. And then I get there and I'm hot and I've eaten too much junk. And then I come home and I'm sad that I didn't try all the things. So hopefully the 2 days we'll be able to try what we want.
Are you using lightning lanes?
We're not. Oh, okay. So this day at Epcot is extended evening hours.
Okay.
So because it's our last day, I figured I will push my kids this night and see if we can do it. So I'm assuming we'll go back to Animal Kingdom. We'll just do a couple hours at Epcot, go back to Animal Kingdom, maybe swim or just relax for a little bit, and then go back to Epcot for the night.
All right. Have you ever done extended evening theme park hours?
We did it once at Hollywood Studios. It was amazing, except for my kids made us ride Smuggler's Run like 5 times in a row, and my husband and I were going to lose our cookies. So, it, yeah, if they loved Guardians, maybe we'll try that again. I said my daughter, my oldest, has really intense motion sickness, and she's never ridden Guardians, but she wants to try it. We have relief bands for her, and I'm gonna take Zofran with
Okay.
us and just see what happens.
For the whole trip or just this day?
I'm only gonna bring the relief bands on our Epcot days.
What about the
Is that what you're
Zofran?
asking?
The
Oh, the
Zofran.
Zofran.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I'm a nurse practitioner. I come with a whole pharmacy to Disney World. So Zofran will be coming with us in bulk just in case.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think she'll need it otherwise. She's never needed it for anything else, but I'm worried Guardians might not go well for her.
Yeah. It's a hard one. It either goes very well or very not.
Yeah. And she's my kid. She might chicken out at the last minute, and that's totally fine. So we'll just see what mood she's in when we get there.
And since you're at Epcot, you're doing like the booths and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And I really am going to try to save money this trip with food. And since we have the cabins, cereal or breakfast bars in the morning and pack Uncrustables. And so I'm trying to not go crazy with our dining budget on this trip.
Yeah. I mean, when you're not booking character meals or sit down restaurants of any, or too many sit down restaurants, it does
Yeah.
save some money.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the end of Monday then?
Yes.
What does Tuesday look like?
Okay. So Tuesday, we're going to have breakfast at Boma at 9:50. And then we'll just swim and hang out at the hotel. And like I said, my husband takes care of the airport travel. So I don't know what time our flight is leaving, but I think it's sometime mid to late afternoon.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do you have Memory Maker by chance?
We do not.
Okay. All right. I used to ask that every single trip report years ago, and I realized recently I don't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
It comes in more handy when you're doing character meals and things, I guess. But
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely something we did on the first couple trips. And then now that we've been a lot, we don't need it.
all right. Is there anything we haven't covered?
Okay. So my girls wanted to make sure I told you that part of our plan, my husband has really gotten into his Disney love, and he recently made a humongous order from that Roosevelt's company. So part of our fun on this trip is going to be taking Disney fit pics of Dad every day because he went really crazy on his Disney outfits. So we're looking forward to Dad looking pretty fly the whole trip.
Their shirts are really fun.
Yes.
And I look forward to, after your post trip, when you send your pictures in, to seeing how that goes.
Yes. Yeah. He spent way more money on his clothing for this trip than I did for me and the girls combined.
Listen, I like when people can have fun with it.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, this sounds really fun. And I hope you have a good time. Try to stay cool.
Yes. I've got my fans, cooling towels. I've been known to take the free water and just dump it on everybody's head. So we'll see how it goes, and lots of electrolyte packets.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you in about a week and a half when you get back.
Thanks.
Are dry eye symptoms frequently interrupting your day? Keep dry eyes off your schedule with Refresh Reliever PF Extra Lubricant Eye Drops, offering an advanced formula to soothe and hydrate your eyes. With innovative hydrocell technology to lock in moisture and prevent further irritation, Refresh Reliever PF Extra gives you lasting relief. Equipped with a soft squeeze multi-dose bottle featuring a double lockout system that keeps drops sterile, so you can feel confident using it. Refresh has been delivering relief from dry eye symptoms for 35 years. It's a track record of success that has earned the trust of physicians and patients alike. You deserve relief from your dry eye symptoms, and your eyes deserve extra. Find Refresh online or in the eye drop section at all major retailers. FSA and HSA eligible.
Welcome back from your trip, Sarah.
Thank you.
We're talking on Wednesday, May 28th, so you are fresh off of your trip.
Yes.
Other than a few sniffles, how are you doing and how did it go?
Yeah, we're doing great. I'm a little bit tired since I worked today, but our trip was incredible.
Okay. I can't wait to talk about it because I think one of our recent pre-trips ended when yours began. I
Huh.
feel like we have sort of this continuous
Yeah.
commentary from Disney World. So Tuesday, May 20th, you told us you were flying to Orlando, arriving in the morning, and then headed to the boardwalk.
hmm Yep. So we were in the car at 4:50. I turned on A Million Dreams by the Greatest Showman, and so I was like already crying on the way to the airport, and then the kids wanted Kendrick Lamar. So the moment passed, but I had a little emotional moment. I actually, when I finished talking to you, I think that was like the Saturday before, I started to feel unwell. And so Sunday, I was really down for the count. And like I would lay on the floor, pack a little bit. So I was a little bit on the struggle bus still on Tuesday, but the Disney adrenaline kept me going.
Okay, that's not a good sign when you go into your trip not feeling well, but
Yes. And I can talk about this more in the after chat maybe, but I have pretty intense anxiety with travel and particularly Disney travel. And I did some things this trip that actually helped me for the first time because most of our Disney trips, I barely sleep. So,
okay, I wrote it down to talk about in the after chat. Okay, so then how did this first day go?
yeah, it was great. We landed and got into our lift at 9:30. We had a pretty interesting driver experience. She wasn't super pleasant, but that's okay. My kids were silent because she was kind of scary for the entire 25 minutes to the boardwalk, but that was okay. So we got to the boardwalk. Everybody graded dad's airport behavior because my husband is a bit of a stress ball in the airport, and we all gave him an A. He did really good this time, not stressing us out. So we had a good laugh when we got to the resort about dad. And we walked right into Daisy and I think it was Dale in the resort lobby, which I just love that. And it was actually perfect because of what happened later in our trip that we met one of the chipmunks at that resort. So we got a text that our room was ready at 10:48. So we went to the room, threw swimsuits on, and we went to the bus stop at 11:24 to go to Disney Springs.
Okay, that that was pretty much your plan, right?
Yeah. So we walked into Disney Springs and my kids go, "Is it open?" Because it was so dead compared to when we've been before. And they were so excited because typically we've waited in a long line at Blaze and we just walked right through, got them pizza, and then I took the kids to Typhoon Lagoon and my husband stayed behind. He would have totally taken them to Typhoon Lagoon for me because I wasn't feeling well, but I wanted to do it and experience it for the first time with them. So he actually went to CityWorks, which he really enjoyed. He is a big craft beer drinker and he loved the selection there. So I think he stopped at Gideon's first, got a peanut butter cold brew. No, he got the cookie butter one because it was new. And he said he likes the peanut butter much better. But so we went to Typhoon Lagoon. I was so lost when I walked in because I've never been in there before. I had to get help from a cast member to figure out a locker. I did not think about having something to put my phone in. So that was the main thing is I just needed somewhere to store my phone. We walked to Crusher Gusher, and I think my kids rode that 4 or 5 times in a row. And then we did the like family raft ride. I don't know what that's called, but we did that a couple times. Then we did the lazy river, the wave pool. I got my girls Dippin' Dots, which was really painful to buy them something so generic at Disney World, but they wanted Dippin' Dots. And then that's really it. I mean, I think we spent 2.5 hours there. My oldest is very fair skinned, and I was really nervous about starting the trip off with a sunburn. So I wanted to call it quits before it got too bad. And already, I think an hour or so in, people's feet were hurting. Our feet were burning every time we were on that hot surface. So definitely, if somebody wants to go and spend a whole day, you should probably invest in some water shoes.
I
But
think you touched on something about the navigating thing because it not only is it your first time, but the park is so windy, and when you're wet and getting in and out of the water, you're not exactly holding onto a map
yes,
or even a phone. You know, and
Yeah.
so it is tricky. And then were you with your kids the whole time or did you ever separate from them?
My two littles separated a little bit on the Crusher Gusher just because they went together, and then I went with my older daughter. So I wasn't like on top of them the entire time, but for the most part, we stayed together.
Yeah, but you didn't navigate separately because I
Right.
find that to be very challenging. Like, how do
Yeah.
you find people? You
Yeah.
know, it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So we went back to Disney Springs, and my husband was still there. So we just met him up at the bus stop and got on a bus. It was going to both Yacht and Beach Club and the Boardwalk, apparently, because I just followed my husband off the bus when we got to the first stop, and we walked in, and I was like, wait a second, this is not the Boardwalk, and it was the Yacht Club. And then I was like, dang it, our feet are hurting. The kids are in flip-flops. So we came out of Yacht Club and we took a right. And I like to always know what's the fastest way to get somewhere. And so we were having this whole debate, which would have been faster, the left or the right? Anyways, we don't know, but we took the way around to, what is that? Where the dance hall is, I guess.
Yeah, and the Swan and Dolphin are that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, my husband had to do a piggyback ride because we were struggling at that point. So we got back to the room at 3:30. At that point, I think it was, I canceled our beaches and cream because the kids were hungry. I didn't think with the early morning we were going to want to go put like real clothes on. And I wanted to enjoy the boardwalk pool that night since it was our only night there. So we ended up getting corn dogs and a hot dog at the hot dog stand. I ordered, I think, a salad from the Boardwalk Deli, ate in the room, and then we really just swam and relaxed the rest of the night at the boardwalk.
All right. And that was your arrival day. The
All
next day
right.
was Wednesday, May 21st. And you told us in the pre trip that it was your Epcot day, but also Disney was going to transfer your bags for your resort change.
Yes. So we got up, got our bags transferred. That was super smooth. We walked to the back entrance of Epcot. My whole trip, because it was hot, I really tried to balance getting there for rope drop, but not where we stood in line at rope drop. So I really wanted to kind of get in and like at least get into queue pretty quickly and not stand in the front of the park. So this worked pretty well this day. We were outside near the France booth for maybe 5 minutes before the line for Remy started moving. But at 8:20, it started moving. We got to the front at 8:38. We were off at 8:45. So we walked out of Remy's and Aurora was right there. So my girls talked to Aurora, got her autograph. My 8-year-old was really into characters. And it's just so fun because she is the youngest. She tends to seem older than she really is. But it is fun to think like this is still such a magical place for her. It is for all three of them. But she still is so enamored with the whole character experience and was really into getting autographs on this trip.
8-year-olds are so much fun.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect age. So we hoofed it at that point because I kind of didn't want to stop for Aurora, but I was like, oh, they really want to see her and I want to let these moments happen. So as soon as we got done meeting her, we like did that almost run, but not quite to Frozen.
Speed walk.
Yes. And we got there 1 minute before official park open and got in line for Frozen. So we got on at 9:12 on Frozen and off at 9:18.
That's very fast.
Yes, it was amazing. The crowds this trip were incredible. Like I was blown away. I think because we've done a lot more. We did an October trip, December. I guess I've just never experienced the like high heat, low crowd Disney before. Anyways, we went to the bathroom in Norway, which we all said was amazing. The best bathroom of the entire trip. It was so clean. It was early in the morning, so that probably had something to do with it. But we were like, chef's kiss to the Norway bathroom. We went into the Norway bakery and got school bread because my oldest loves the school bread. So then we just kind of meandered through the rest of World Showcase walking towards Mexico. We walked to get onto the Three Caballeros and we saw Donald like out there in that little pocket and we met Donald. And then we went and rode Three Caballeros, got off of that. and walked right to, it's kind of like that port of entry area, and Asha was right there. And she was amazing. And my girls really love Disney music. And so I don't think The Wish is that great of a movie, but the music is pretty great. So that was a sweet experience. She talked to them for probably 10 minutes. She was great.
That's a long time.
Yes. So we kept moving and got on to Figment. When we came off of Figment, it was like right about 10:15. There was a whole little group of characters, and it was the penguin from Mary Poppins. It was a country bear, which, why was the country bear at Magic Kingdom or at Epcot and not at Magic Kingdom?
Because they were practicing.
Yes. I remembered that yesterday when I was thinking about that. Geppetto was there, which we had never seen Geppetto, and Piglet and Max. So that was awesome. My girls were freaking out about that. So then it was time for our Guardians Lightning Lane, and we walked to Guardians at 10:45. We were on the pre-show at 10:55, and then we got off at 11:25. I think I talked about in my pre-trip that my oldest is really motion sick. So we had her relief band on her. I gave her Zofran about 20, 30 minutes beforehand. And then the second we came off the ride, I could tell she was okay, but a little discombobulated. So we immediately sat down just to take a breather. And I actually had packed alcohol pads because that's also very helpful for nausea. And we just had her smell alcohol for a minute or two, and then she was fine. She didn't want to do it again later in the trip.
Yeah.
But did it. And we were all very proud of her. So we let her go get a pin at that little shop to celebrate.
That's really nice. It sounds like for her to be successful takes a lot of work. So I can see why she didn't want to do it again, but I'm glad she made it.
Yes. We had a little bit of an issue in line at Guardians because it's always a little hard when we're a family of 5 because typically somebody has to go alone. And my 2 littles actually enjoyed that so much to the point where they were asking cast members to let them ride alone. And we finally had to be like, enough, stop asking the cast members. If everybody asked them, these rides would take doubly long. So no, you cannot go alone. They're going to put somebody with you. But this was the first time my 8-year-old was freaking out that a stranger would sit next to her. She wanted to ride alone. So I did ask because I didn't realize this was going to become a trend at this point. And so that took a little bit of sorting out, but they did let us do that. I was like, I'm so sorry. I know this is so annoying. She wants to ride alone. She does not want to sit next to a stranger, but they were very gracious and did that for us. Anyways, so at this point, we had really done what we wanted to do. I had only booked that single pass for Guardians that day, but we had knocked out the other 2 that were really important to get done that day. So we were ready to do some booth tasting. At this point, we were pretty hungry. So we stopped at the Florida Fresh booth and got the beer flight. We actually didn't like any of the beers in this beer flight, but we got the Cubanito, and it might have been because we were starving, but we enjoyed that a lot. Another one of my strategies the entire trip was anytime there was free water, I would grab it. My kids were probably the most hydrated they have ever been in their entire lives on this trip. But so we got that food and went over to where, like in front of the Encanto show, and we just started like having an ice water fight with each other and cooled off, and it was fun. So then we went and got the violet lemonade, as you do, for Flower and Garden, and my girls loved that. And at the Pineapple Promenade, I got the pineapple cider there, and that was really good. And my husband had one of the beers there, and he enjoyed that. We stopped and got the scallops and the beef in Canada, and those were both good. We liked the beef better. Not the greatest when it's so hot, but we wanted some like real food, and that was hitting the spot. We got just the regular poutine for our kids in refreshment port there. So at this point, it was, the middle of the day. It was very hot, and I knew we needed kind of a long extended break. So we went into the Odyssey Pavilion and just sat down. We grabbed, I think, a couple beers. Oh, I had a cider there as well, and that was fantastic. And then I went to the La Cantina in Mexico, and I got the kids like quesadillas and chicken strips and just walked it back to the Odyssey building. And we sat in there and just rested and enjoyed the air conditioning. At that point, okay. So in this building, I had the Three Daughters Orange Blossom cider. I think that was one of my favorite ciders the entire trip. And then Richie had the Copper Point lemon meringue beer, and he loved that. Okay, so we really wanted to try Frushi. We had never tried Frushi before, but I was not about to walk my children all the way to Japan. So we gave them a phone and let them watch a show inside, and he and I just walked to Japan alone, which was a very good parenting choice. So anywhere that I could like decrease steps, keep people cool, I took advantage of that. So we got the Frushi, we got 2 orders of that, and everybody really enjoyed that. And then one of the best drinks we had of the whole trip was this cherry blossom Pilsner. And it was so good. And I'm not a huge beer drinker. I really prefer wine or cider, but it was so refreshing. And then we got it again when we came back on Memorial Day.
There's something about, you got that at the Japan booth?
Yes.
There's something about the fruit flavored beers in Japan that are the best.
Yeah, it was so good.
So good.
So we got
because it's like not overpowering or anything.
Yes, it was light, refreshing, perfect on a hot day. So,
and how hot are we talking? What was it?
Mid-90s. Yeah. Okay, so we got back to the Odyssey building. Everybody had sat there for long enough that we were refreshed. We were ready to go face the heat again. And we walked to Soarin', and it was like a posted 5-minute wait. This was around 2:15.
I guess you told us in the pre-trip that Epcot was closing at 5:30. So
that's right.
I'm guessing that the low crowds were related to that as well.
Yeah, yeah. But I was like, oh, it's low crowds because of that. And then it just continued the rest of the week. Every day I was like waiting for it to get heavy. And maybe I was just in my own world and I didn't notice. And because we had lightning lanes the other day, I was just blissfully walking onto my rides. But anyways, okay. So in line at Soarin', I really think that Disney, like being in Disney in the summer with all like the burnt UK people that's just the pinnacle of a Disney experience. And we were in line, like looking at all like the older, you can tell that they've lived in Florida for a long time with the leather skin and then everybody who's fried to a crisp. And my husband was like, man, being a dermatologist in Florida is probably the hardest job in the world. But we had a good laugh in the Soarin' line. Then we did Living with the Land and Awesome Planet, which we had never done before, and just enjoyed more air.
Great place to get air.
Yes. So we walked onto Spaceship Earth after that. Oh, no, we went to Journey of Water first. So we walked through there and then walked over to Spaceship Earth, walked on at 3:45. I always get nervous on that ride that it's going to break down. I've heard stories of people sitting on that ride for 45 minutes to an hour. So I'm always like holding my breath until we get off. So then we left at 4:00. Our room was still not ready at the cabins and I was getting nervous, but I was like, it's fine. We'll just show up and hopefully once they see our faces, they'll give us a cabin. But right when we were leaving the park at 4:05, I got an alert that it was ready. So our bus came at 4:15. We got there at 4:35 and got all the things.
You had a lot to do right near the bus stop.
Yes. And where our cabin was very close to the bus stop. But yeah, we checked in, got our golf cart. They had our bags ready to go. They actually offered to drive us to our cabin, but we didn't need that. And so, yeah, we just rested, unpacked. I made hot dogs and did cucumbers, carrots, corn on the cob. It was amazing.
So was your Kroger grocery order at the
it was already there.
Building as well?
Yes.
And what'd you think of the cabin?
Yeah, my kids after the trip rated the cabins as their number 2 favorite from now on. My husband and I have different feelings about the vibe at the cabins. I'm so glad that we did it. I don't necessarily need to do it again, but the kids absolutely loved it. And the cabin itself was great. Like having a kitchen, especially for what is a longer trip for us, being able to do some of our meals there and have some feel-good foods to sustain us throughout the whole time, especially because I was still not feeling great at this point. I don't know why they couldn't have designed those cabins with a washer and dryer.
Yeah. Kind of like a DVC villa
Yeah.
might have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would think, I think, yeah, you kind of equate full kitchen with washer and dryer.
Right. Yeah.
Would that be nice? But so you said your kids rated number 2. What's their number 1?
Poly.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 of our stays have been a Poly Beach Club combo.
That's a fantastic combo.
Yes. And that has been my favorite, to split up our trip and start at Beach Club and then go to Poly. So I definitely missed all the proximity things, but I mean, it was a different experience. And I think part of the fun of Disney is trying all the different things. And then I'm hoping that kind of solidifies in their little memory banks, like the different trips, and they don't all run together because we do different things all the time. So anyways, we went to the pool that night and enjoyed that. And then we just drove around on the golf cart, which my kids thought was just the best.
Listen, I have a feeling the golf cart contributed to them loving the cabin so much.
We live in a neighborhood where people own golf carts, but we don't live in a golf course community. And so my kids beg for a golf cart, and we're just like, guys, we're not buying a golf cart just to drive to the community pool. So sorry, not happening. So this like upped that again of, please, can we buy a golf cart at home?
I want to live in your neighborhood. I think it'd be fun to buzz around and go to people's houses in a golf cart.
It is, but not worth the headache. That my husband swears that they're a huge headache to own. But anyway, so that was our Epcot day.
Okay. Thursday, May 22nd, you had plans to go to Magic Kingdom?
Yes.
Including using lightning lanes and rope dropping Peter Pan.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we started the day off at Magic Kingdom like we were amateurs. It was pretty bad. But then we ended really well. So we ended like the Disney pros that we are. So this day too, we all had these matching shirts. And so I was braiding everyone's hair so we could look cute. So it just took, when I'm the only one that can braid, my husband can braid a little bit, but he's not great. So it just took a while to get us out of the cabin. So we left the cabin at 8:05, and at 8:15, when we got to the boat dock, it was pulling away. So I kind of knew at that point we've missed rope drop, but it was fine because I knew we were going to be able to make it up later. So we got on the boat at 8:29, and we were walking down Main Street at 8:45. So I still thought, okay, we'll try for Peter Pan. We went, and it said it was a posted 30-minute wait, and I wasn't going to believe it, but then people were outside, and I was like, okay, I think this might be real. So we got in line, and then very quickly I was like, no, because we had Haunted Mansion at 9:25, I wanted to be there like right at 9:25 so that I could book another lightning lane. And so we just hopped out of line and just went on Small World. And it was the perfect amount of time to do that one. We all love Small World. It makes me cry every time. And then I knew I could book a Peter Pan if I got that early in the day. And that's exactly what happened. We did Small World, and then as soon as we tapped into Mansion at 9:25, I was able to book Peter Pan. Okay, so this day I realized that even though I listen to Disney planning podcasts every day, I had not realized that the whole 2 hour, like you can book a new lightning lane every 2 hours. I kept checking, thinking, gosh, it's 11 o'clock. The park's been open for 2 hours. Why can't I book another one? But it kept telling me you have to I had to tap in for the next one. So I completely missed that part of the planning process. That was now gone.
Because that's Genie Plus.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yes. And I only had one trip on the Fast Pass system. Then all of my other trips have been using Genie Plus. This was my first one with the new system.
Yeah. In some ways, it's easier because it's just you tap in, you book another one, you tap in, because the last one was really hard to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me all day to figure out that things had changed, but eventually I figured it out. Okay. So Haunted Mansion, we walked from there to the Madame Leotie shop, which Haunted Mansion is my oldest favorite ride. She loves that. And so she bought like a little AirPod case to match her Loungefly there. And she was very excited about that. So then we went to Pirates. The girls went on Aladdin while my husband and I walked to Sunshine. Is it Sunshine Tree Terrace?
Mm-hmm.
I was very sad because I guess the citrus swirl is gone. It was orange Dole Whip, but that's different than the frozen orange juice, and it was not as good. So we tried it. We only ate a little bit of it because then we actually all wanted the coconut Dole Whip, and
Which is the best.
it is the superior Dole Whip for sure. So then we did Tiki Room and then came off and got the coconut Dole Whips and had that. Okay, so then we walked to Country Bears. And it was delightful. My husband was laughing out loud at the jokes there. We loved it.
Did you guys go to the old one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite the upgrade.
It is very different, but it's funny to be able to compare the two.
Yeah. Okay, so we did line check Pecos Bills for 2/3 of my kids. One wanted Casey's, and I wasn't going to walk. So I was like, you're going to have to wait till we get back over that part of the park. So then we went and walked to the railroad, and my husband finally got to get on the railroad. That was super important. So we were in Frontierland at 11:45. And that was so perfect because our next lightning lane was Pooh, and it saved us all this walking. I was amazed, like, why have I not used this thing before? So we got on that, got off, did our Pooh lightning lane at 12:10. My middle was still begging for her corn dog nuggets, but I still didn't want to walk over to that part of the park. And so I convinced her to get something at Friar's Nook. And I was like, once we're over there, we'll go get it. Because I also love the corn dog nuggets. We did Barnstormer. We did Dumbo. We actually walked over to do Standby Aerial, but it felt like a really long line, which I guess because it was indoors and it was like the heat of the day. It got long, and I was not going to wait for that. So we
need lightnings for characters back.
Yes.
Because that ends up being the longest lines for a lot of people.
Yeah. And then our lightning lane for Seven Doors was up. And so we just walked back and did that at 1:24. We got on Seven Doors. At 1:45, we finally made our way back to Main Street. I got Starbucks. I love looking at, so I'm an introvert, but at Disney, I'm an extrovert. And I love looking at all the cast members, like where they're from and asking them about their hometown. And so I was looking at the girl who was checking me out in Starbucks, and hers was the same hometown as me in Florida. And so we talked about where we went to high school and all that. That was fun. We did some shopping and ate our corn dog nuggets on the trash cans outside of Starbucks, as one does. And then we went back to rest at the cabin.
All right. So you took the boat back.
We took the boat back. Everybody rested. Some of us showered. We ate dinner there. And then we took the boat back around 5:00. So I had a lightning lane for Tiana's, and I think my window was like 3 to 4. And I think that's when I had asked the patron group to make sure that I was okay coming back later, because I couldn't modify it. I kept trying to, and there were no options. And I didn't do Standby Skipper because I wanted the control. But so we walked to Tiana's and then realized it was down. And so I was nervous. I didn't know what was going to happen at that point, that I was now going to be so outside of my window, but it ended up being fine. We walked to PhilharMagic and did that. Oh, no, we rode Peter Pan first because I had a lightning lane for that. So we did that. And I rode with my 8-year-old, and that was a really fun experience because that started the rest of the trip. We just started like making fun of each other and just roasting each other, just silly, nonsensical things. And so the whole time we were just being silly and stupid on Peter Pan, and it was really fun. So we did PhilharMagic. We loved that show. And then we walked back because Tiana's came back up. And it let us through at 6:20. So I don't know if that's because there was the downtime.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know.
Not sure. But that worked really well. Okay. So we had brought our popcorn bucket from home. So we got some popcorn. We actually got more coconut Dole Whips because we typically will just get one and split. I think that's what we did at this point. We just got one and everybody got to try it again. And then we walked across the park to Carousel of Progress. When we have done the Christmas and the Halloween party, my 8-year-old has been so sad because it closes early and she loves the Carousel of Progress, which is hilarious because she's little. But so that was a big priority to do that. So we did Carousel of Progress, got off of that at 7:30. My husband took my littles to Space Mountain, and my oldest and I just walked around and did some shopping, hung out in Tomorrowland. And then they all went and did Buzz Lightyear. And then around 8:15, they went to Tron, and Caroline and I did the Speedway. And then we did Teacups. And then we all met back up, and they did the Teacups again. I did not again. And I think they were on and off of Tron in like 20 minutes. So it was.
That's really fast.
Yes. So we walked to fireworks. We wanted to see fireworks, but I also didn't want to get caught in any fireworks crowds. So for the first time ever, we went all the way to the back, and it was amazing. We stood, okay, so there's that tree there, and there's a bench, the very back of the park. And the tree does block a bit of your view. You still get to enjoy the fireworks. And we were like right there, ready to exit. And it was just, there was a little boy with Down syndrome in the stroller next to us. And as soon as the music started to come on, he just was like dancing in his stroller. And I had a moment. So
you said you were at the back of the park. Do you mean the front, the entrance?
sorry, yes.
Okay. So you were positioning yourself for an easy exit.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was like that bench there, and then the tree with there's like iron rod around. And so my kids actually sat on the bench and watched from there. And it was amazing.
Yep. That's
So.
a good spot. We also have post fireworks crowds anxiety, and we end up doing that quite a bit.
Yeah. And yeah, I still struggle. I mean, it's never fun to be in a crowd that packed, even before COVID, but especially at the beginning of my trip, I'm so anxious about people getting sick. And so I just felt better having the space and knowing we could exit quickly. We left before the last song and started walking to the boat. And it was perfect because the end of the music was coming on as we were walking away. And we literally walked right, like the boat was ready to go. We walked right onto the boat. And then as we were approaching the cabins, the electrical water parade was going on. So it was like at 9:54. And I was like, this is perfect. I could not have planned this any better if I had tried. And that was our Magic Kingdom day.
Yeah. That was a good day.
Yes, it was fantastic.
Are dry eye symptoms frequently interrupting your day? Keep dry eyes off your schedule with Refresh Reliever PF Extra Lubricant Eye Drops, offering an advanced formula to soothe and hydrate your eyes. With innovative hydrocell technology to lock in moisture and prevent further irritation, Refresh Reliever PF Extra gives you lasting relief. Equipped with a soft squeeze multi-dose bottle featuring a double lockout system that keeps drops sterile, so you can feel confident using it. Refresh has been delivering relief from dry eye symptoms for 35 years. It's a track record of success that has earned the trust of physicians and patients alike. You deserve relief from your dry eye symptoms, and your eyes deserve extra. Find Refresh online or in the eye drop section at all major retailers. FSA and HSA eligible.
All right. The next day was Friday, May 23rd, and you were headed to Hollywood Studios.
Yes. Okay, so we left at 7:45. We were on the bus at 8 o'clock, and we got there like right at 8:15. So we were rope dropping Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror for my husband and my two littles. My oldest and I, we walked to Minnie and Mickey's, but the cast member had come out and told us they're like, stay in line. It's going to open, but there is a delayed opening. I mean, it was already in the 80s at this point. And I was like, no, I'm not standing out here in a line. So sorry, because I knew I could get a lightning lane for that too at some point later in the day. And so we ended up just going to Starbucks and getting coffee for everybody and just sitting there and enjoying, that little area when you come out of the Trolley Cart Cafe and there's that little seating area behind it. We just sat there and listened to the music and chatted and went into a few of the stores, and it was perfect way to start the day. They knocked out Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror before 9.
Ideal.
It was, yes, perfect. So this day was when I had the most sympathy for parents of young children. And then I had more sympathy for the children whose parents brought them to Disney and then were jerks to them or made them stand in like the Slinky Dog Dash line at 3:00 in the afternoon and didn't like, and in the morning I had actually seen, I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner. I saw a baby in like a full long sleeve sleeper in her stroller. And I was just like, oh my gosh, if you are hot, your baby is also hot. Please get that baby out of a sleeper. Anyways, it was pretty hot. I feel like people talk about Animal Kingdom being the hottest park. I'm always on fire at Hollywood Studios and then in the World Showcase at Epcot.
We had a recent trip report of somebody with a baby who had an umbrella thing that's just for like
Yeah.
babies. And I
Yeah.
feel like that baby would have benefited from that with
Yeah.
with some short sleeves.
Yes. Oh my gosh, your baby does not need to be in a long sleeve sleeper in
Mm.
Orlando in late May. Okay, anyways. So we walked to Muppets and did our Lightning Lane. This was my burner try, Lightning Lane. And so we did that at 9:15. And the first Lightning Lane I booked was for Smuggler's Run, and we got that for 10:35.
Okay.
So we did our Muppets. We took photos there in front of Miss Piggy. That was really fun. And then while we were walking, ordered Woody's Lunchbox. That's our like favorite breakfast is the tacho bowls there. And so I went ahead and ordered that. We've had issues before where I'm too late to order. And so I'm always Johnny on the spot to make sure we get it.
But I think it's a great thing for people that haven't run into this issue before that you want to get that order in.
Yes.
Or breakfast doesn't last very long.
No. Yeah. So we ran into Mando while we were walking through Galaxy's Edge and got some pictures. And then we walked. So we got our Woody's Lunchbox. Oh, the shade now that's there is awesome. That is such an improvement. So we ate, went back to Smugglers and did that. So at this point, my girls were bickering in line a little bit. And I had this brilliant parenting idea that I was going to bribe them to have good behavior with a Sister of the Day award. I was like, okay, girls.
Oh, no.
Me and Dad are going to watch your behavior and how you treat one another throughout the park day. And at the end of the day, a sister will be awarded Sister of the Day, and you get to go get a pin. And so that turned their behavior around pretty fast.
I thought maybe they got competitive, like overly competitive.
And a little bit, but then, spoiler alert, they each won each day because Mom was like, made it fair. And then they caught on to me. They're like, Mom, we know it's going to be Maggie tomorrow because, the other two have already gotten theirs. Anyways, so we did Smugglers. My littles piloted, and that was rough. Okay, so then I booked Mickey Minis when we tapped into Smugglers. I think it was around this time that I decided to cancel our sci-fi because we were doing so well in the air conditioning and handling the heat that I was like, I don't think we need to be indoors. And my kids wanted the blue and green milk. And I knew if we went to sci-fi, I had planned on just getting like fries and milkshakes. And I was like, I don't want to take up a table and I don't want them to get milkshakes if they're going to do the sweet treat in Galaxy's Edge. So I canceled that. We sat in some shade and drank our blue and green milk. Maggie went over and talked to a stormtrooper and had fun doing that by herself. And then we walked to the Frozen show. Maggie had done this before, but she was 3 and did not remember it. And so she was quite in awe about the snow falling down. She didn't know that was coming. So that was really fun. We left to go to Toy Story Mania. We had a Lightning Lane booked. So we did that around noon, got that done by 12:30. And then I stopped into Woody's again and got ice water because I knew we were about to do it's not that long, but the walk to Rise. So we got water for the walk. And then they all went at 12:45. I did not get a Lightning Lane for myself. I knew they were going to be hungry, but I was trying to kind of just let them snack until we could get back to the cabin and eat food there.
So I was just like checking out the different places that I could mobile order. And I think it was Backlot Express. I've never bought food from there, but they had a Jawa. Is it Jawa? I'm not a Star Wars person, but they had a sipper. And so I screen capped it and sent it to my husband. I was like, do you want me to buy this? This looks like something that y'all would like. And he said, yes. So I went in there and got that. And then I walked over and saw that Baseline Tap House, there was seating available. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to get a table at Baseline. And so they came out of Rise. What time were they done? He was back over to Baseline with the girls at 1:20. And so we sat, I had a cider, he got a beer, we got a pretzel, and we sat there in the shade. And I booked the girls a lightning lane for Star Tours. And we had both said, girls, we're not going on that. And so they all just went by themselves and used their lightning lane for Star Tours. And we sat at Baseline and luxuriated, as somebody would say.
Yeah, nice.
So that was delightful to just sit there and enjoy. Okay, so at this point, we all rehydrated, did potty breaks, and then went to Mickey and Minnie's at 2:10 or so. When we were in line at Mickey and Minnie's, there was a family right in front of us that were on a VIP tour. And the VIP tour guide was just very animated and asking all kinds of Disney trivia questions. And Maggie just kind of joined and was like answering, and really, because the family didn't seem that engaged. And so we were just chuckling in line because Maggie had her own little 5-minute VIP tour experience. And my husband was like blown away, because that happened multiple times where we were in line for our lightning lane. And then there'd be another family on a tour. And he was like, why aren't they like just going ahead of everybody? And I was like, oh, they have to stay in the lightning lane just like everybody else. And he was like, that's crazy that they don't just go right to the front. Anyways, so then we got off of Mickey Minnie's. We walked to Slinky Dog at 2:35. This is where I saw this sweet pregnant woman with a toddler in line at Slinky. And I was just like, oh, bless it. I feel so bad for you. So I felt really guilty, like scanning in with my lightning lane, like seeing her, knowing she probably had 45 minutes to go. But we scanned in at 2:40 and we're off at 2:52.
But you know what? Back when paper fast passes were the thing and they were literally free and available at the machines for anyone to take, there were still people like that in line. And when you would walk past them in the fast pass lane, they would be like, ugh, why do they get to do that? And it is free and it is right there.
Yeah.
So it's different now because it does require money and whatever. But there's always been people that chose the standby line.
Yeah, that's wild.
It is wild.
I did not get my kids enough food at Backlot Express, so they asked for a grilled cheese. So we got one order of grilled cheese at Woody's and just took bites of that. And then we bussed back to the cabins at 3:30.
All right. You got a lot done.
Yes.
A lot done.
Yeah.
How long did you stay at the cabin?
So we did the gem mining at 4:00. We had tried, I think, the day before on our Magic Kingdom rest, but we were there, I can't remember. No, maybe it's our check-in day. It closes at 5. And so I knew I needed to get it done before 5. And my girls loved this experience. It might have been the highlight of their trip. I paid for the big bag. It was like $35. We did it again later in the trip because their cousins came and they wanted to do it with their cousins. And they got their little gems and their shark teeth and all the different things. We went back to the cabin and I made them all get in their beds, but I could just hear them, like, they had the little list that told them what everything was. And they were just like going through their gems and reading to each other what they got. And it was super sweet.
What is it with kids and rocks?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they still are in that stage where they'll come home from school and have rocks in their pocket.
Or, when you go to any kind of like gift shop at a tourist place and they have the little bags of rocks that you can buy, I'm like, they're pretty and fun, but like, then what? What do you do? What do you do with that?
Yeah, later at Animal Kingdom Lodge, they have in the gift shop there rocks. And I was like, don't even ask. I paid $35 twice.
Yes, exactly. You already have your rocks.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So we just ate sandwiches at the cabins. And then I kind of wanted to just do the campfire chill because we had done everything that we wanted to do at Hollywood Studios. But my husband really wanted to do Fantasmic. And so we were like, okay, we'll go back. We will literally just walk in for Fantasmic and then leave. But that's not what happened. It was a little bit of a flop of a night, but it was totally fine. But we did head back. Oh, I had gotten a lightning lane for Rock and Roller Coaster because Nora wanted to ride again. And I got it for all 5 of us, even though I knew she and I were going to be the only ones going. So I made the mistake, nobody else do this, of thinking, okay, we're not going to walk that far. And everybody's feet were hurting and I let everybody just put flip-flops on. And I will just never walk into a theme park with flip-flops on again, just in case we end up walking more, which is what happened. And everyone's feet were hurting even more because of the flip-flops. But so we walked to Rock and Roller Coaster and it was down, which was totally fine. Nora can deal with some disappointment. And we were leaving and there was this huge line accumulating like all the way to the Starbucks. And I was like, what is going on? I've never seen this happen at Fantasmic before. So I stopped and I asked a cast member, what is this? And they said they were having a delayed load for Fantasmic, which I didn't really know that happened, that they like let people in kind of chunks, I guess. Or maybe I didn't understand what they were saying. But I was like, oh, but I don't need to stand in line, right? Like if I come back like right before 9, I'm just going to be able to walk in, right? And they're like, well, we've actually hit capacity this week, so you might not want to do that. And I was like, I didn't know what to do because I thought they might just be telling me that just to make sure. But the crowds certainly didn't feel like heavy crowds. I was like, how is that possible? But also there was this crazy long line. Anyways, I had also booked when I walked into the park, just in case, aliens rolling saucers, because we hadn't done that day. And so now that I had said that I had that, 2 of my kids wanted to do that. So my husband got into line for Fantasmic and I took my other 2 to aliens rolling saucers. And we were like walking fast because I was worried. And we did that, got off and came back. And he was already in at this point. And I ended up being able to find him and it was fine. But it was a delayed start. So I don't think it started until 2:10. And it came on. It went for a few minutes and then the lights all came down at 9:15 or something. And they said it was canceled. So that was rough having to leave. Out of all of the like nighttime events, I really struggle the most at Fantasmic. That just feels so packed with people. And to me, like Hollywood Studios, because I think it skews older a little bit, I just always feel like it can be like older kids, like younger, like just a little bit of a different vibe. There was actually a young couple vaping in front of me in line at Fantasmic. And I was like, I don't think you're supposed to be vaping in Disney World. How did you get that in here? Anyways, it was fine, but we didn't get to see Fantasmic that night. We got to see the first few minutes.
Imagine if you had just stayed at Fort Wilderness.
I know. They should have listened to Mom, but it was fine.
Yes, but I am sad if your husband really wanted to see it, but it didn't happen. And it wasn't raining, which would have been a pretty good indicator that it might be canceled. So it's too bad.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but yeah, there was no rain at all at that point. So,
all right. Saturday, May 24th was the next day, and it was a non-park day for you.
Yes. Okay. So this was Saturday. It was lovely because we got to wake up and have coffee on our front porch. That was fun until we started getting bit by mosquitoes. And then we were like, okay, enough of that. And we left for Disney Springs at 9:30. My girls wanted to go into the Ever After store. They all have the headbands, and they wanted a couple more of the heads there. I did some shopping at Sephora, and I sent my girls to the World of Disney alone. And my husband went to, I think he grabbed an old fashioned at Wine Bar George to get into line for Gideon's. And he waited in line for about 45 minutes to get us cold brews. I think that was probably the longest wait of the trip, was him being in line there. So at that point, my sister and her family came and met us. So we stopped at Wine Bar George again, and I got my frozen old fashioned, and we got the mac and cheese bites and water for the kids, and just hung out there for a little bit until the movie was ready. So then we walked down to our movie and saw Lilo and Stitch.
And
It was amazing. I love Disney. I don't really love watching Disney movies with my children. Like I even growing up, I wasn't a huge like cartoon movie kid. Like my favorite movie was like Mary Poppins and Pollyanna and like real people. So I was not excited about watching a movie, wasting my precious Disney time. So I was not looking forward to this, but it ended up being perfect. Like it allowed the kids to rest and be cool. They had fun with their cousins, and the movie was really cute.
seeing a Disney movie at Disney World
Yeah.
seems like it's on people's bucket list. Check.
Yeah. Yeah. So we left and made our way to Polite Pig and ate there with 7 children, which was awesome. The waiters were super patient with us. I ate Brussels sprouts for my lunch, and my husband got some sort of sandwich, and the kids split stuff. And then I took some of the kids with us back to the bus to go back to the cabin, and my sister drove the rest of her kids with her and met us at the cabin. At this point, it had started raining, which I think was the first time it rained on the trip. And it rained for a good bit. So we just came inside and the kids hung out. And then we went and did gem mining again. And they loved that.
Did the other kids participate this time as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So my sister bought her kids a bag, and I got my kids a bag, and they did it again. And it was a blast.
And they were experts at this point because they had done it before.
Yes. So we packed their clothes for Hoop-Dee-Doo because it was kind of getting late in the afternoon, and I knew I wasn't going to have time to go back to the cabin, and I wanted to maximize their pool time with their cousins. So we all swam at the pool, and then we got out and changed in the bathrooms there for Hoop-Dee-Doo and went there.
Did your sister-in-law, brother-in-law have any trouble getting into Fort Wilderness with their car?
No.
Good.
Yeah. When we split up, I should have thought about it. I should have given them a magic band because they got to our cabin well before us and then sat in the car and waited. And I should have thought about that. So, okay, Hoop-Dee-Doo, that was an experience.
And remind me, this was just your immediate family, or was it also their family?
Yeah. Yeah. We had tried to get a reservation and it didn't work out. But yeah, so it was just our family.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I cried again at Hoop-Dee-Doo. This is the theme of the trip because my kids were having so much fun. And this had been something like a big bucket list. It's expensive. You know, we had just it had never fit into our plans in the past to do it. That whole check-in process is wild. I don't know. Why do you have to do that? I don't know. I guess they're holding you off for them to clean because we have the 6:15, but there was definitely lightning in the area. It was very gray. My oldest has anxiety with weather. And so she was kind of panicky because we were outside and there was really no place to go if it had started to lightning. So they told us to get there 30 minutes beforehand, and we didn't even do that because I was like, I'm not standing outside for 30 minutes. But I think we got there with 20 minutes to go, and we waited every one of those minutes before they opened the doors and let us in. But it was such a fun experience. Really fun.
Where was your table?
Okay, so we were tier 2. We were in the very back of the room, but it was fine. I mean,
the lower level.
Yes. Yeah. But I didn't feel like we struggled to see or the kids had a hard time or anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The food was not our favorite, but who cares? We knew that going in that it wasn't going to be our kind of food. And we paid for the memories of it and not for the food. So I was just like, we're not even thinking about the fact that we're probably all going to have a snack when we get back. But it was fine. Like my kids ate mac and cheese and mashed potatoes, and I don't love like meat on a bone. Mm-hmm. I took one for the team and I ate a little bit just to feel like we got some protein. And I think my husband did like an upgrade for one of the better beers. And the sangria was fine. It's very sweet. But yeah, the experience, my girls were like belly laughing the whole time. So my videos were just all of watching them watch the show. And sorry, I'm going to cry. It was great.
So they like a music show.
Yes. Yes.
So I feel like that's good information. Whenever it comes up, your family can go do that.
Yeah. We actually, it might have already sold out, but who is the guy that in Hamilton, he's coming back to Broadway in New York City for this brief stint in the fall, and the tickets are so expensive. It was right before we were leaving, and we were having this debate of, do we do it? If we do it, we have to take all of them. We can't leave anybody out.
That Leslie Odom Jr.?
Yes, yes.
And it's only from September through November. So like a couple months.
Yeah. So my oldest birthday is Halloween, and she will turn 13 this year. And we've told them that for their 13th birthday trip, we'll take them to New York City alone, just them. And so we were already planning to go, but we just can't take one to see Leslie Odom Jr. and not all three. But that would be quite the price tag. So I don't know what we're doing with that. But anyways. Okay, so we left you and just drove around on the golf cart again and went to bed.
Went to bed. The end.
The end.
Okay.
I think this night when we started the cabins, my girls all did the room. And my husband and I slept out in the pull down. By this night, I think it was, we were like, hey guys, mommy and daddy are too old for this. We need a more comfortable bed. And so we started swapping, and we slept in the nicer bed because it was definitely that pull down at the cabins. It was fine, but we're in our 40s. It was not comfortable. It was pretty hard.
Yeah, and it's tricky because there are multiple beds there, but all the good beds are all in one room.
Yes. And they had such a blast having like sister sleepovers together. And we wanted to, let them do that. So they did that the first couple nights. And then we're like, okay, enough.
You're like, sorry to intrude, but we've got to join the slumber party.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a really good rest day though. And
it was great.
That's a great resort to have a rest day at.
Yeah.
Are dry eye symptoms frequently interrupting your day? Keep dry eyes off your schedule with Refresh Reliever PF Extra Lubricant Eye Drops, offering an advanced formula to soothe and hydrate your eyes. With innovative hydrocell technology to lock in moisture and prevent further irritation, Refresh Reliever PF Extra gives you lasting relief. Equipped with a soft squeeze multi-dose bottle featuring a double lockout system that keeps drops sterile, so you can feel confident using it. Refresh has been delivering relief from dry eye symptoms for 35 years. It's a track record of success that has earned the trust of physicians and patients alike. You deserve relief from your dry eye symptoms, and your eyes deserve extra. Find Refresh online or in the eye drop section at all major retailers. FSA and HSA eligible.
Sunday, May 25th, Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. Okay. So, this is painful. I got up at 6. But we were just tired still. So to get up that early for rope drop at Animal Kingdom was hard because the kids were pretty tired at this point. But we were at the bus stop a little before 7. We tapped in at 7:30. And this was perfect. I mean, we got there. We walked right through and just kept moving. We got a picture in front of the Tree of Life. And then we walked onto Everest at 7:43. We did it again. We got off and went back again. My oldest sat out because she didn't want to do Everest. Okay, so the second time we rode Everest, the Yeti, I had never seen the Yeti before. And I was very unprepared. I cursed very loudly because I didn't see it this first time. But the second time, it like came out and scared me pretty bad. Anyway, so we got off Everest. At this point, I have some like jaw issues, and my jaw was hurting from Everest, and then I started to get a headache, and I knew I needed to hydrate, and I needed much stronger coffee than what the cabins provided. This is always a problem for me at Disney, is I don't start the day with strong enough coffee, and we have tried so many ways of making the coffee stronger there. And when we originally thought we were going to drive, I was going to pack our own coffee pot, but that coffee is like water. And I can't.
So at home, you make your own coffee, but you just brew it stronger than what
Yeah.
Disney serves.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we tried, like, they had the Keurig in the cabins. That's always too watered down for me. But anyways, I knew I needed some caffeine. I needed water, but I was getting like a really bad headache behind my eye after we got Everest. And I was probably not super nourished because the heat just kills my appetite. So we walked past that stuffed pancake and I was like, oh, I've heard people say good things about this. Let's try it. So everybody got like a bite or two of that and it was good. We had our Safari Lightning Lane at 8:05. So we tapped into that. At that point, I booked the Lion King show because I didn't want to have to wait at all in that line. And so there was a little bit of a delay at Safari because they said an animal was blocking the road.
Mhm.
So we finally got onto Safari, and on Safari, not once, not twice, and not 3 times did our driver have to tell a couple in the back to sit down because they kept standing to take photos. And I was like, this is such an embarrassing moment for mankind.
I feel like that statement we could say a lot these days.
And I was like, they should really just say at the beginning of the safari, if you break the rules, we will leave you on the savannah to fend for yourself. It was painful because she just kept having to stop. And I had a headache and I was just like, oh my gosh. And at first I was like, okay, maybe English is their second language. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. And then I saw them later that day and I was like, no, they are very much American. Anyways, we got off the safari at 8:40. We walked to Cali River Rapids with our lightning lane and did that at 9:15. So now we were sopping wet, but had a blast. Got the girls Mickey bars. And then we went to the Lion King show. We had 15 minutes and my head was really bothering me. And so I was like, I'm going to run to Creature Comforts, get coffee and water, and then see if I can make it back in time. And I actually, in line, started chatting with another Disney lover. And it was funny because we ended up seeing her the next day as I was walking out of Epcot. It was so random. But so I had a fun little conversation with this woman who had been coming to Disney for 30 years. And that was fun. But then I realized as I got my Starbucks, I can't take this into Lion King. So I was like chugging that along with water and walked right into that. And not the greatest parenting move to have soaking wet children in the air conditioning at the Lion King show because they were really cold, but they were fine. We just had them on our laps and we're like, trying to warm them up as best we could. Spoiler alert, I cried in Lion King. My middle does gymnastics and she's in awe of those acrobats there. So super fun.
I always think it's really cool that they have a job doing that. Because
Yeah.
there's only so many things you can do when you're a gymnast as a kid.
Yes. Yeah. I'd love to take her to Cirque du Soleil sometime because she would just be in love with that.
100%. Especially knowing how much your kids like live theater and performances
Yeah.
and stuff.
Okay. So then we walked to Navi River Journey at 10:55. My husband and I had gone and done it, just the two of us, when we had come down for a Run Disney event. But my kids had never done it. And so that was fun. They enjoyed that. They talked about it was very peaceful and relaxing. So that was nice. And then it was time for our Flight of Passage, Lightning Lane. Funnily enough, my middle, who went on a rock and roller coaster, Guardians, like all the things, did not want to do Flight of Passage and said it was scary. So I did not purchase her a Lightning Lane when I was doing that. So I gave her my phone. Before we went, I ordered cheeseburger pods at Situ because, again, I was worried about the timing. I wanted to make sure I got it in right when we were getting off Flight of Passage. So we walked onto the ride, and right before, like, our window was about to close. So my husband texted and said, Nora, can you go into Mommy's My Disney Experience? And she's my 9-year-old. I wasn't sure she could do it. And click, I'm here, prepare my order. But she figured it out. And then it was perfect because we got off Flight of Passage and walked over and got our cheeseburger pods. At some point, I think it must have been when we were walking to Navi River Journey that my husband had run into Nomad and put our names on the list there. So we sat down at Satuli and then we got the notification that the table was ready at Nomad. So we were like, girls, eat really fast. And then we're going to go. So They ate like half of a cheeseburger pod, and then we were like scooping up the chips that come with it. And I was like, you're gonna eat on the way, because I didn't want to have to let the table go. At this point, it was like 12 o'clock. We had done everything that was really important to us. And so we all just came in, and we had the really nice loungy area, and it was perfect. We all just sat down, enjoyed the breeze. I got the tempting tigress. And at this point, my headache was finally better once I pounded that water and coffee. And I had taken a Zofran actually on the safari. It's never bothered me before, but I did feel pretty sick on it or with the headache. So I popped that.
It was those people standing up.
Maybe, yeah. The constant having to like lurch forward to stop to tell him to sit down.
Or just the annoyance of it with your headache.
Yeah. So we got the churros. The kids thought that was really fun. And my husband got a beer, and we just lounged for a little bit. So then we got up and we saw Kevin. We're really big Up fans. I think it's one of the best Pixar movies. And so we saw Kevin, and then we got in line to meet Doug and Russell. My youngest, Maggie, like Doug is her spirit animal. And so the video of her meeting him, she just runs up and gives him this big hug. It was very cute. So, okay. At this point, my kids were begging to do Cali River Rapids again. The wait was 75 minutes. And because, if you remember, I had said I had booked that rock and roller coaster on the Hollywood Studios day for all 5 of us, and then we didn't ride it. Well, because it had gone down, I had gotten the anytime that had shown up in my Disney experience. But when it had come up, it was only for a 24-hour period of time. But I screen capped it because I was like, I'm going to use this tomorrow and see if a cast member will let me apply it at Animal Kingdom if we need it. So I walked over to a guest services, like one of the blue tents, and I was like, hey, we had this at Hollywood Studios. It's expired. Is there any way we can use it? And they were like, sure, no problem. They were very sweet and gave us the Cali River Rapids Lightning Lane. So we literally just went right from there and did Cali again. So then we walked to meet Pocahontas because we had never met Pocahontas before. Mm-hmm. And so at this point, we had met some characters. We had done all the things. And I felt like one of our other goals had been to do like the Nemo show and Rafiki's Planet Watch. But I just felt like things have gone really well. I don't want to push it. So the littles were tired. I was ready to be done. And so we started walking out of Animal Kingdom. And my oldest, who is probably an Enneagram 9, had kind of said here and there, I'm so sad to leave. It's been so fun. There's so much that we've not done. But she would say it, but she wasn't making a big stink about it. And I was like,
but you knew if she was saying something at all.
Yeah.
That it was important.
But then we finally get to the front, and I was like, Caroline, do you want to stay? And she was like, well, you're tired, Mom. You want to go back? And I was like, no, if you want to stay, I will stay with you. And I had this moment because I was like, oh, I just want to go put my feet up. But part of parenting this particular child is helping her speak up. And she does that so infrequently that I was like, no, I'm not going to, the one time she actually says what she wants to do, tell her no. So my husband took the littles and went back, and she and I walked back to Gorilla Falls and did that. And it was perfect. Like, it was very sweet. Like, she's my little nerd and my science buff and just loves learning. And she's also incredibly introverted, and she needs a lot of quiet alone time, which she obviously doesn't get on a Disney trip. Mm-hmm. And so we just did that little walkthrough, and she loved it. It was perfect. And that was enough. That's what, like, when we finished, she was ready to be done. But so I was really glad that we did that. Now, my husband we forgot to give him the key to the golf cart. So it worked out okay because it wasn't a long walk, but then they had to walk from the bus stop to our actual cabin, which he said was fine. The kids were okay.
And then you had a golf cart when you got back.
Yes. And it was raining right when we pulled in. It started raining at that point.
With a kid that you think is an Enneagram 9, which is very like peacemaker, go with the flow. It would be really easy to just be like, we got to go. Because that she would have been like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always like my younger two have no problem speaking their mind and saying what they want. And so it's hard to help her. Like they need to kind of take it down a notch. She needs to be like given a voice. So anyways.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So by the time we all got back, it was like 4:15ish once we were all 5 back in the cabin. It was like pouring at this point. I had really wanted to go somewhere fun. I was like really wanting to go to Steakhouse 71 or do the Poly, but it was just a downpour. The kids were tired and just really enjoying resting. And the campfire had gotten canceled this night. So we ended up just getting a pizza for them from Trails End. And then I was like, I don't want pizza. I was out of like dinner food in the cabin. And so I started searching on DoorDash. And we just moved a couple years ago from Texas to Georgia, and we really miss Tex-Mex. And so when I popped up DoorDash, there was Chewy's available, which isn't the best Tex-Mex in Texas by far. But I was like, oh, I could really go for a Chick-a-Boom, whatever that enchilada is, and some chips and the creamy jalapeno salsa. So I DoorDashed that, which was an experience because the DoorDasher trying to get to the cabin didn't work. My husband had to get on the golf cart in the rain and go meet him at the front of Fort Wilderness because he was confused. But I got my Tex-Mex fix. That was the end of that day.
And that was the end of that day, right almost to the end of the trip. So the next day was Monday, May 26th, and you had to check out of the cabin.
Yes.
But you were also going to Epcot.
Yes. Okay, so this is Memorial Day. So I was real scared. I thought Epcot was going to be crazy, and it was not. I was shocked. So in the morning, we ate eggs and bacon. Oh, and the night before, I cleaned. I mean, it took me hours to like kind of think logistically how I needed to pack up and then pack like one bag for the rest of the time. So it took me a long time to figure out. I meant in the morning to DoorDash us Jeff's Bagel Run. Have you ever had it? Oh my gosh. Okay, I was influenced by Michael Disney. Do you know him? And when we were at the Poly in December, we got it for the first time delivered to us. And we sat on the Poly patio, and it was truly magical. They have this rosemary salt bagel, and it's so delicious. So I was very sad because I completely forgot that was on my list, and I just, in the hustle and bustle of trying to get the cabin cleaned up and out the door, we forgot. But if anybody's listening and loves bagels, Jeff's Bagel Run can be DoorDashed to your resort. It's really good. Okay. We actually took a trip to Houston a few months ago, and they had just opened up one in Houston, and we were very excited about that on that trip. Okay. So we left. We went to go visit the horses. And they have the 2 barns, the one that's like kind of fancy and nice, and then the one at the front of Fort Wilderness. So we had already obviously seen that several times with our coming and going, but we wanted to go to, Tri-Circle D Ranch. So we did that, met the horses. That was fun. They were sad that they couldn't ride any, but that's okay. We were like, once everybody is big enough to do it, we'll come back and do a trail ride at some point. So we left, and we stopped on our way back to the golf cart. There was a DVC stand there, and there was a pin trading board, which is a really great. My husband was like, that's a really good marketing idea to have that like right there, because then the kids come over and want a pin trade, and then they have the parent trapped to have a conversation. And we already own DVC, but we're resale members. So they had these really cute magnets that said DVC member. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. But I said to the man, we're resale members, but he took it off and he gave me the magnet, and it made my day. So, and then he told me that we could buy Riviera. And I was like, thank you. No, not right now.
How generous.
Yes. Okay, so then we hadn't ridden the Skyliner. So what we did to get to Epcot was we took our bus to Hollywood Studios. And I really wanted coffee at the Riviera. So we skylined to the Riviera and got off so that we could get coffee. And at this point, my husband and I walked into Riviera and we were like, oh my goodness.
Because the kids were enjoying the cabin more than you were.
Yes. And we did a few nights at the Riviera in December. And I think it kind of just edged out Beach Club for me because of the food. Because I love the coffee. I love, like, Primo Piatti has great quick service. The cocktails that we had there were fantastic. And Beach Club doesn't have good food. And so, as somebody who really wants good food on my Disney trip, I think in the future I might do more Poly Riviera combos, although we can't use our points at Riviera because we're resale members. Anyways, so I was very smart at this point because my kids needed to eat some lunch. But I knew since we were coming in the back of Epcot, there was nothing like fast that I could get them to eat that they were going to want. And so I was like, actually, let's just order quick service here. It's got the pizza and all the easy stuff. That way they will be fed. And when we walk into Epcot, we can stop at the festival booths and the kids will be fine. So that's what we did. We grabbed lots more ice at this point and we walked into Epcot. So my brother-in-law is a cast member and he is able to get a free stroller. And because it was our last day and we were going to push the kids to stay for extended evening, I really wanted a stroller this day. So he was graciously able to get us one for free. And even with him, like, he had to be there obviously to get it for us. But then we left the park and came back and we were able to just get a new one when we came back in later that day without him being there.
Because did you have a receipt that you could show?
Yeah. So we walked in to Epcot and my youngest had a little bit of a meltdown because we realized that she had lost her one of those shoulder things. And I had told the girls they were responsible for their lounge flies and their stuff. And anyway, so we had a little moment and it just made me think that as a parent, like, I think initially when we started taking our kids to Disney, I was so desperate for them to have the most perfect time that I was scared of anything going wrong. But really, like, parenting doesn't stop in Disney World. And she just needed a moment. And then I have to tell myself, she can feel sad. She can have a bad moment. She'll rebound in a few minutes and we'll all be okay. I do not need to promise her a new one and all the things. She will be fine. And so we felt our sadness for a few minutes and held our joy and sadness at the same time. And we moved on. So
You said, I'm not participating in codependency.
but also, just as I've aged in parenting, like, that urge to fix everything, especially when you're on a trip that's so expensive. And I initially at Disney, like, my joy would be taken away if they were in a bad mood. And I just not going to do that anymore. You can be in Disney and be a grouchy pants and I'm still going to have a good time. And I also don't need to fix your grouchiness. It'll pass. Have your moment and we can keep moving on. Anyway, so we had our little meltdown and then we were fine. We got fish and chips at Rose and Crown. And then we made it to Mexico because the cousins were there waiting for us. They came for a few hours that day as well. And I stopped and got the elderflower margarita in Mexico at the booth. And that was great. I love that. We had already had an avocado margarita, I think, on our first day. And I love that. But I had done that. Didn't need to do it again. So me and my husband and my sister and her husband let all 7 kids go ride 3 Caballeros alone. And we were like, good luck, guys. And told the 2 oldest, like, you tell us if the littles aren't behaving. And none of our kids have phones, but they have the ability to text us on their watches. And it took a very long time. We probably got a good 20 to 25 minutes of adult time. And we were like, gosh, I hope the kids are okay. I hope there's not like a cast member or like babysitting or like trying to figure out where these children's parents are. But also, this is one of the things I love about Disney is that I feel very comfortable and safe letting my kids go do these things and experience a little independence. And they all got off the ride, and the report was everyone's behavior was good. So
You think they bribed the oldest ones to say that?
no, maybe. Okay. So we went and got caramel popcorn and stopped in America because we had, made it just a little ways, but we were hot. And so we got ice there for everybody and cooled off. And then we stopped and got the cherry blossom Pilsner again and made my sister and brother-in-law try that, and they loved it as well. And then we did the kakigori. Is that how you say it? Kakigori in Japan.
Shaved ice.
Yeah. And so then we went behind Japan, and there's this little tucked away seating with lots of shade. And we got a table for the kids, and they all were having a blast, cooling off with their shaved ice. And the adults drank our Pilsners and chatted, and it was lovely. So we made it to Morocco and stopped for the cider flight there, which I always enjoy. My husband got the lamb kebab, and he loved it.
Always a solid stop.
Yes. I always go into Spice Road Table, that little entrance where you can get the water. And so I filled up again with water. My kids were peeing like every 15, 20 minutes on this trip because they were like, Mom, stop making us drink more water. We keep having to go to the bathroom. And then every once in a while, I would add like an electrolyte packet to their water to just help with everything. And then we had Alani sticks for us. I did let my kids have caffeine a little bit. They don't normally get any, but on this trip, they were allowed little pockets of caffeine drinks. Anyways, so we stopped and took photos, and my husband and brother-in-law did their own photo shoot, and this cast member was so delightful, and it was just silly photos. But then all the 7 kids started booing them for some reason. So then the line was just laughing. It was quite the scene in Morocco. And then we all got like a big group picture. So, okay. So then at this point, we decided to go back to Animal Kingdom Lodge. Okay, yeah. So we were transferring at this point. And since we were close, we had made it almost to France. When we made the decision, okay, let's be done, I was like, I am not walking these children back to the front of Epcot to get on a bus to Animal Kingdom. So I was like, I think it'll be less steps and less heat if we skyline to Hollywood Studios. And then because the bus stop is right there when you get off the Skyliner, do the bus stop there to Animal Kingdom Lodge. So that's what we did. And my sister and her husband obviously had their car there. So they took one of their kids, only one of theirs wanted to stay with them, and the other ones came with me. And so at this point, I was being fun Aunt Sarah, and I was like, okay, guys, let's make this a competition. We're going to see who gets to Animal Kingdom Lodge the fastest. And in December, we took a trip with a different sibling of mine, and we actually, on our rest day, we did guys versus girls. And you had to ride every form of Disney transportation. And you had to end up at the line at Gideon's, got coffee for navigating, figuring out all the Disney. The front of Epcot and the car was still cool in a Skyliner and in the air-conditioned bus. So when we were walking to Skyliner, that's when I saw the woman who I had met the day before at Animal Kingdom. And I was like, oh my gosh, how random is this? So, okay. So
it's a small world.
Yeah. Okay. We got on the Skyliner, and the kids started eating the caramel popcorn Richie had bought, and they started freaking out that it was spicy. And he was like, no, it's not. And then he took the bag and realized he had bought hot caramel popcorn. So we were like, oh, sorry, guys. Okay. So we got on the bus to Animal Kingdom Lodge. We were all being silly and speaking in British accents and saying, don't we wish we were from the UK? It would be so much more fun if we lived there. And then Maggie was like, is Kamala the president of the UK? And I was like, no, when she lost, she didn't get to be president anywhere.
Yeah, that's not like a concession prize or anything.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to Animal Kingdom Lodge and our room had been ready for a while at that point. So we were on the 5th floor. We had a pool view. It was amazing. It was lovely. And so kids swam. We did Sanaa quick service and brought that over and then just ordered food for the kids at the Mara and hung out. So they left and then we went back to Epcot for extended evening hours.
I'm sorry, our connection cut out for a little bit. So
Yeah.
did you say that the Animal Kingdom villa was ready when you got there?
Yes. I think it was ready around 1 or 2.
Okay. And then how is that? Have you stayed there before?
We have never stayed in Jumbo House. We've stayed in Kidani Village twice.
In a 1-bedroom villa?
We stayed in a 2-bedroom before. And then I can't remember. I think it's only been like 1 or 2 nights.
How did you like it? How would you like it?
Yeah, I was very happy to be back in a more like compact resort. I felt this makes me feel more Disney. Although Animal Kingdom Lodge is not my favorite because of the transportation situation, I was still very happy to be there.
Okay.
I was happy the whole time, but it definitely felt, feels more Disney to me.
We all have preferences.
Yeah.
You learned some of yours.
Yeah. Okay. So we went back to my microphone. I went back to Epcot and we walked right onto Spaceship Earth. It was storming pretty badly. So we just kind of stayed near indoors because my oldest was not loving the weather. People were just like pouring out of Epcot at this point because of the weather. We went to Soarin' and it was fun. And Soarin', I had never noticed before, one of the songs they had playing was the theme song to Father of the Bride. And I was like, this is one of my favorite movies. I've never noticed before that this is one of the songs in the line. So it was 9:00 by the time we made it out of there. And we forgot that all the food was going to shut down. So thankfully, the La Cantina was still open. So we were able to get the kids some food there because they were still pretty hungry. And at that point, we watched, what's the show there?
Luminous?
Okay. We've never watched an Epcot show. My husband really wanted to do it. It was delayed, but then we did get to see it. We only watched for 5 or 10 minutes because the kids really wanted to do Guardians. And so, but he was like, okay, I'm happy. My trip is complete. We got to stand here and watch this for a few minutes with a beer in my hand. And so he ended up taking Caroline to go do Frozen while I took the littles to get in line at Guardians. At this point, I was really scared because it was kind of doing this like 70-minute, 45-minute. And I was like, we got in line. It was like, circling outside in this queue. And I was like, what am I going to do if I'm alone? I only had 30% battery on my phone. I always get scared about rides going down. What if we wait for 90 minutes and this ride goes down? It's the last thing of the trip. This is our last day. So I was like on edge the whole time, but we actually were on and off Guardians in less than an hour and the kids did great in the line. We played heads up and had fun and it was a perfect way to end the trip. So
you played heads up on a phone with 30% charge left.
Yeah, I took the risk that it might die.
Yeah, you're living on the edge.
Yes. So yeah, bus back to Jumbo House after, because by the time we got off Guardians, it was basically 11 o'clock at that point.
Yeah, time flew.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next day was your departure day, but you had breakfast plans, right?
Yes. Okay. So we woke up. Everyone was up by 8 in the morning. And so I had a 9:50, but I was like, I'm starving. I don't want to wait until 9:50. And that kind of throws a wrench in just the whole getting out of the room. So it wouldn't let me modify it. And I didn't want to get charged. So I actually just called really quick. Like there was availability for earlier, but I just called the reservation line to be like, I'm going to cancel this so I can modify to an earlier time. And they took care of that for me. So we ended up going and eating at 8:50. So at that point, we had great breakfast. The girls love it there. I think because it's the only experience they have with a buffet. They just think it's the most fun thing ever. And I was glad to do it at the end of our trip where I'm like, okay, if we get like food poisoning here, it's fine. The trip's
lots of anxiety.
And it was at that. So the kids finished eating and we were waiting on the check. And so we were like, okay, just go shopping. They wanted to go to the store. And that was at the point that my husband decided, okay, well, now seems like a good time as any to let you know that we had a high schooler watching our dog, and she didn't let him out late enough one of the nights. And he had to poop really bad, apparently, and destroyed the back door where he gets let out and the drywall all around it. And so I had my own little meltdown moment at BOMA while I realized what I was coming home to. But that's okay. We had my moment, and then we rebounded and finished the day out. So he's already been working on fixing the drywall today. So, okay. So we went back to the room, packed up. We had very minimal packing to do, did swimsuits, and then we went and hung out at the pool. I got a Mai Tai, and the girls had their little virgin pina coladas. It was very fun. We did Mara quick service again, and then we were on a lift a little bit before 1:30. And this time we did a Uber Black, which was, we were like, we're going to do this every time. This is totally worth the
Black or XL?
We had a Suburban or something like that.
Yeah, maybe it's both.
Yeah. And the guy who took us was very kind and a different experience than the way in. So, and we got zebra domes, which I planned on giving the kids at the airport, but they did get super melty. So they ate we called it zebra mush. And then once we got to the airport, okay, our flight home was delayed by almost 3 hours. It was just across the board yesterday. Everybody's flights were getting delayed. So thankfully, I'm in the, a stage of parenting where it's not fun, but it's definitely tolerable. They had we pulled out their little tablets and let them do that. So it was kind of a rough ride. I know this is really surprising, but I have flight anxiety. And so I was like, oh, this is like another ride, holding on for dear life the whole flight home because of the weather.
Luckily, it's not a very long flight for you.
No, yes. I only have to be stressed out for 45, 50 minutes. So, so we were supposed to get home around 5 something, and we got home at 9-ish.
But you worked all day today, which is the next day.
And then I got up and I worked, and I saw 25 patients today. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a tough schedule.
It was a rough reentry, but that's okay. It was worth it.
Yeah. But overall, really good trip.
Yes. It was one of our favorites for sure.
I think the ages of your kids are really great too.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you've talked about you're in the phase of parenting where it's not as difficult. It feels like, but it's recent enough that you remember what it's like to have really young kids that still need to nap and always need a stroller, that kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you guys are DVC owners and you obviously go pretty often. When do you think the next time will be?
Yeah. We need to cool it for a little bit. So we do have a trip booked next July. So we're planning to do a 4-night on the Destiny next July. We did the Wish last year. And that was actually last February was our last actual full family vacation. And I actually got off the Wish going, I don't think I need to do a cruise again. But when they introduced the Destiny, my husband's a huge Marvel nerd. And we're going to go with a family, one of his best friends who has little boys. They've never done Disney, but they are all Marvel people. And so it was just okay, I got to do this for my husband. He will die on this ship. So we're going to do that. But that might be, I'm telling myself I really have to wait for next July before I book another trip. And we don't have any DVC points because one of our favorite things has been gifting other people our points. And so we're always in debt to ourselves. We're always borrowing, so we don't have any for a while.
Yeah. So you got to bank them again.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that'll be fun.
Yes.
So that'll be a land and sea trip.
Yeah. Right now we only have the Destiny booked. We thought maybe we would try and combine it with Miami and do Miami for a couple of days, but I don't have any of that worked out.
Okay. But the cruise part.
Yes.
So that'll be good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, at least you have something on the books.
Yeah.
to look forward to.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you fitting me in the next day after you got back because it's been a busy day for you.
Yes. Yeah. It was fun.
All right. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that trip report. I did keep talking to Sarah in the after chat about several different things, including the fact that she was a Make-A-Wish kid. I was just curious about how that worked and how she's doing now. So if you would like to hear that, feel free to listen on Patreon in video or audio form. That will wrap up this episode of WDW Prep To Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, wdwprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 465. Until next time, I will see you on the site.